Hi, I'm Allie Hamilton, and I'm so happy to welcome you to the Come As You Are podcast. Every week, we'll be talking about some aspect of healing, usually around childhood wounds and complicated familial relationships. The topics will always coincide with my personal essay of the week, and this will be a place where we can take a deep dive together. I'm so thrilled you've joined me and delighted for you to always come as you are. Hi there. Hi there. Welcome to our talk. Today, the topic is not good enough. Not good enough. And I was doing a little it's hard to say play on anything right now, but play on Renee Nicole Good's last name in light of what is happening, in Minneapolis, but just in the country at large, and what is happening with ICE. And I think most people have seen the picture of little Liam Ramos, who is a 5-year-old boy who was essentially used as bait. He was picked up from preschool by his dad. They are from Ecuador. They came here seeking asylum, doing it the right way, quote unquote. All papers in order, no deportation papers, nothing illegal at all. And ICE chased them. And when they pulled up to their house, the dad, they used the kid and brought the child to his front door to try to get the mother to come out too. And it's just heartbreaking. They now have the son and his dad, and they're in Texas now. And you see people applauding this. There are people still supporting this administration. And I honestly, at this point in time, I don't know what to say anymore. The disinformation, those just blatant lies that are told, all you have to do is Google. It's free and it's easy. So if you want to know who this family is and what their immigration status was and exactly what happened, all you have to do is just a little bit of digging, and you will see they have done nothing wrong. This little boy's preschool teachers are devastated. And I think for any of us, this is the 4th child in the district who's been taken. And there's a mother and her daughter who were in a laundromat, suddenly tackled and overtaken by these guys. Yesterday, there was a woman who was driving down the street and was blocked in by 2 ICE vehicles and pulled from her vehicle with her minor child in the passenger seat, tackled. It's like, these are your hardened criminals that you're getting off the streets. A lot of these people are U.S. citizens. There was a kid, there are videos. All you have to do if you want to see what's happening is look. They're not hard to find. There's a kid who is maybe 14 and walking home from school, same, tackled, and he's saying, I'm legal. I don't know what to say at this point for people who are still supporting this, but it's something's going really wrong here when we have to debate, for example, this Renee Nicole Good murder, which everyone saw. You know, we have 5 different angles. We have frame by frame video. We have slow motion video. We have 3D renderings. And it's just, you know, we're at the point where people are refusing to accept what they're seeing with their own eyes, and hearing with their own ears. It's the same as January 6th. You know, it's like we all saw what happened. Everyone saw there was an insurrection. We had people attacking the Capitol violently. You know, it's not, you don't need this, oh, well, we didn't have the evidence. We needed this long investigation. We saw. There are times where you can actually just believe your eyes, right? You can actually just see something unfolding in real time and believe your eyes. And that was one of them. You know, that was one of them, January 6th. And the president did not even send a tweet telling his followers to stand down, to go home, to, you know, to stop beating the Capitol Police, to stop breaking windows and doors, to stop, you know, to take the noose down, to stop yelling, hang Mike Pence, to stop hunting for Nancy Pelosi. He didn't tell them to stop defecating on the Senate floor or rubbing it on the walls or breaking into the offices there. You know, he let that go on for hours. He let people get hurt. These people were throwing incendiary devices, pepper spray canisters. They were beating Capitol Police with flagpoles and spraying them with chemical agents, bear spray. And this man did nothing. He did nothing because he refused to accept the results of a free and fair election and continues to lie about it to this day. And it's just, you know, I watched the Jack Smith testimony, and if you haven't watched it, it is really well worth your time. He is calm, articulate. He's got just so much evidence, and he's under attack from this president who has called him, you know, deranged Jack Smith 185 times on Truth Social, and is now insisting that the DOJ investigate him for, you know, perjury. There's no evidence of any perjury. It's just all theater and lying. And at a certain point, you know, it's really time to ask yourself, and I know that anyone who's reading my stuff or listening to me, I'm preaching to the choir. You know, I'm aware of that. But maybe there are a few people, I don't know. I really don't. Once in a while, you know, I mean, a couple weeks ago, I had some wild stuff happen under an essay that I wrote where I was hearing from people who have wildly different views than I do. So, you know, I don't know where these things end up that I'm writing or saying. But I think at a certain point, you know, you really do have to ask yourself, what am I loyal to here? You know, do I care about this country? Or do I care about my one cause? And I think a lot of people, you know, it's a conversation I was having with a friend of mine the other day who's also just like so heartbroken over what is happening here, because this is way beyond political parties. It is. This is so much bigger than, you know, what political party you belong to. It really is going now to ethics, morals, what kind of human being you want to be. And there is no excuse for harming a child. There's no excuse ever for traumatizing a 5-year-old child. And, for the people that the parents did that. No, they did not. No, they didn't. Do a tiny bit of investigating for real. Don't listen to the lying vice president because he's a liar. He's a liar. He would sell his soul to the highest bidder and his wife and children too. I mean, I'm sorry if you can't see that for yourself. I don't know what to say. But that man could not find ethics with both hands and a flashlight. He does not possess an ethical bone in his body. So that. There are a lot of people who they have their one thing that they want and they're willing to, it's like this president's like the Trojan horse. They'll just ride in this hollow horse to get this one thing that they want. And unfortunately, a lot of different kind of factions rode in, like in this hollow horse, this hollow horse's ass. A lot of people rode in and got out on the inside and are getting what they want. What their agenda is. And the Heritage Foundation is one of those. Absolutely. One of the groups getting what they want. And if you don't know who the Heritage Foundation, what they're about and what they want, and if you couldn't, you weren't able to, if you were one of the people screaming like, he's not part of Project 2025, his entire administration and every policy has been Project 2025. I read it. It has literally, that has been what he has enacted from day one. And he admits it openly now anyway. It is Project 2025 and it is the Heritage Foundation. So that's a huge part of what is going on. And they are white nationalists, Christian white nationalists. Hi, welcome to the nightmare. That's who you voted for, whether you meant to or not. And please go check that out. These are people who think women should not have the vote. The husband should do the voting for the household. Pete Hegseth, he's his pastor, the guy he loves so much, is one of those. You got Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin, you have all the billionaire tech bro club. That's another faction. And there's overlap too. Musk. You have these people who do not want to be regulated. They want to do what they want to do, and they don't really care about anything else. So if what it takes is money, then that's fine. They'll donate, they'll do whatever they have to do to get in the door. And that's what they've done. They don't believe in democracy. Really, go look up Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin. And these are the people. Peter Thiel's the guy who got J.D. Vance his role as vice president. Does not believe in democracy. Believes in a CEO of the country, which is a dictatorship or, an autocracy or pick your poison. It's not a democracy. It's one person calling the shots. These are not good people. These are not good people. And Stephen Miller is a terrifying person. He is just an absolutely, I don't know what to say about what happened to him along the way, but he's not well. And he is the last person that you want controlling the immigration policy in the country. If you like his policies and his ideas, you are racist. Full stop. Full stop. If you like Stephen Miller and what he has to say, then you like white nationalism. Full stop. We have to start calling things what they are. we have to be able to say Jonathan Ross shot Renee Nicole Good 3 times, 4, according to the autopsy, because he was angry. He did not need to shoot her. He chose to shoot her because he was angry. She was not trying to run him over. She backed up. She turned her wheels away, as everyone can see. He chased the car to shoot her in the head. And then he called her an effing bitch when he was done. He was walking around after, uninjured. We need to be able to say what is happening and what is real. A little boy was used as bait. He was not abandoned by his dad or his mom. People are scared to death of what is happening because of these masked, armed, unidentified, unchecked ICE agents. And by the way, they just got funding from the House. 7 Democrats crossed the aisle to vote with their Republican, I can't even call them colleagues anymore, because colleagues suggest that you're working together. They're not working together. This is a strong arm, there's no collaboration going on here. There's no respect. And there is this conversation that they did that because if they hadn't, there would be another shutdown, or, if there was another government shutdown or another CR, continuing resolution, then the administration could do what it wanted anyway. There's a slush fund that they could tap so they could continue without any oversight at all. And that's why they did this, because, they also, that another shutdown would have an incredibly negative impact, and FEMA would not get funded, and, the U.S. Coast Guard and TSA, they want air traffic controllers to have raises. And, hey, I'm in favor of all of that. I want FEMA to be funded. I think air traffic controllers have like the hardest jobs out there. The U.S. Coast Guard, yeah. But at the same time that they're voting for this, 2 things are happening. Okay, so the president is threatening to withhold federal funds from sanctuary states, from states like California, where I live, refusing to cooperate with ICE. And and in this bill, Democrats asked for a few things. They're like, okay, this DHS funding bill, if you want this money, then here are some things that we want. We want to rein in ICE. So some of the things they wanted were, let's have a line in here that no U.S. citizen can be detained or deported. That feels like pretty obvious thing. I mean, this is supposed to be immigration, right? So that feels like a pretty clear, yeah, no problem. And that line made it into the bill, and it had bipartisan support. They wanted to have it stated that these ICE agents cannot deploy excessive force. And they wanted to deny no ICE raids at schools, hospitals, or places of worship. They got none of that. None of that is in the bill. The one line about ICE not being able to detain or deport U.S. citizens was in there, and Stephen Miller in the White House said, no, get that out. That's according to a bunch of top Republican people who do not want to go on record. Now, Stephen Miller in the White House should have nothing to do with funding bills that are going through Congress. So do you already see the problem? These people they're not playing by the rules. So when you, as a congressperson, say, well, I'm going to vote for this because, I want to fund FEMA, or I want to make sure if we have a disaster in my state, we can get disaster relief funds. Have you forgotten who this president is? He's not going to give blue states their disaster relief funds when we need them. He'll take our federal tax dollars, but he won't give them to us when we need them. It's like, who do you think you're working with here when you fund this? Like, do you think they're going to do what they say? It's incredibly frustrating. Is not even you're incredulous watching this go down when you're not there in Washington. You're like, wait, are you serious right now? You're saying yes to this because you think these people are going to do what they say they're going to do. At the same time, they're saying yes to this. You have an internal memo, an ICE memo from the White House to ICE saying you do not have to follow the Fourth Amendment. You can break down doors now. And we've had the vice president saying for 2 weeks, ICE is going to go door to door. What does that remind you of? Do you all I really do start to wonder how many people who support this administration just missed all of history class. I don't know, but it feels like a lot of people supporting this administration just they missed all of it, because going door to door is, this is what happened. This is Nazi Germany. This is what they did. They went door to door looking for people. This is Anne Frank in the attic. This is hiding people. This is show me your papers. And that's already happening. There are U.S. citizens right now in Minneapolis, and they're standing on the street. They're not impeding. They're not harassing. They're not doing anything except filming, which is a First Amendment right. If there's an ICE raid happening in a public space, you are absolutely allowed to film. And the reason people film is so that there's evidence later if there is wrongdoing, if there is use of excessive force, which there is. We just had a woman murdered, an unarmed mom. And, for the people that were screaming about, well, she should have stayed home, minding her own business. Nonviolent protest is the bedrock of change in our country. And if you don't know that, then you don't even know American history. Susan B. Anthony, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King Jr., John Lewis, Audre Lorde. Who do you think these people are? I don't know. I don't know what, Fannie Mae Hamer, what? I don't know. But nonviolent protest is how we get things changed in this country. It's how women have the vote. It's how women can go to college. It's how Black people can vote. It's how gay people can get married. I don't understand what is going on with people, but it isn't pretty. And when you start to have this like rabid, you know, little kid with like bunny ears, 5-year-old little child that everyone should be able to agree off limits. You don't do that. You do not touch that child. You don't do that. Just no. That's just like a hard line. When we've gotten to a place where we can't even agree on that, we're lost. We are so screwed if we cannot even, all of us together, agree, yeah, no. We're not, 5-year-olds are off limits. You do not do that. But that's where we are, And this man that, I don't know how many people are still supporting. I don't know how many people are still supporting this, people who voted for this administration. I don't know. I'd love to know what the percentage is of people who voted for him who are still in support, because you can't tell online. There's a lot of bots. There are a lot of people who don't even live in this country who have all these accounts on like Meta platforms and X, and they don't even live here. They're just, like bots. So I don't know what the percentage is of people who are still with him. But I know, for example, in Minnesota, there are Republican Minnesotans on the street trying to protect their neighbors because they're not okay with what's happening. There are pictures of protesters getting tackled to the ground and sprayed in the face with chemical agents from a foot away. That stuff, it's 6 feet. And that's only if if the agent is in jeopardy. These people are out of control. And the people that are still like, yeah, I voted for this. You should stay home and mind your own business. Well, then if that's where you're at, then you just feel like only straight, white, upwardly mobile men should have rights. That's where you're at. If you don't believe in nonviolent protest and you think everyone should just stay home minding their own business, that's where we would be. Kyle Rittenhouse, there's a he's just posting picture of some kind of like giant, I don't even know what it is. It's like not even an AR. It's like not even it's not even an assault rifle. I don't even know what it is that I'm looking at. That's how crazy it is. And he's talking about, maybe I should go to Minnesota, just openly bragging about how he killed people at protests before, and maybe he should go to Minnesota and kill some more people now. Just openly admitting that he got away with murder and he wants to go do it again. That's where we are. If these people are your heroes, if this is like who you're following and who you think is great, you're failing at humanity, honestly, at this point. And if you're still with these people because of your one cause, I really encourage you to take a beat and, just like ask yourself if maybe there's another way you could pursue, going after this thing that's really important to you, whatever it might be. If you have a passion, if there's something that, is a core belief of yours or a passion of yours, something that, you really believe in with your whole heart, I understand, but aligning yourself with the absolute, just most soulless people who have no moral compass whatsoever to get what you want, that never goes well. That's never good. Never worth it. And I don't know. I've just gotten to the point where I'm, this just isn't good enough, which is why I called the essay not good enough this week. Um, I really think that we, you know, Minneapolis, Minnesota, they're doing a phenomenal job on the ground of taking care of each other. They really are. They are not just, I think they are heartbroken and scared and devastated and all the things. There are kids staying home and doing Zoom school because they're afraid to go to school right now. And there are people, bringing groceries to their neighbors because they're afraid to leave the house. There are people who are definitely in a lot of fear and heartache right now, but there are also a lot of people out on the streets trying to take care of their neighbors and show up for each other. General strike there today, just people not, stores closing, people organizing, grassroots organizing, and teaching each other how to do that. We don't really know anymore. I was writing about this. I feel like we've really traded in the village for DoorDash. It's like we want convenience, and so we've traded in conversation for convenience. We've traded in connection for convenience. We're isolated from each other. Everything is at the tip of our fingers. We can get everything delivered. We can do everything online. We don't have to talk to our neighbors anymore. We need to be talking to our neighbors right now. I was thinking about like having a block party. I've been on my block for 20 years, and I know my neighbors that are like right around my house. I have a handful of phone numbers. I know some of my neighbors really well, but the people who live on the other end of the block, I don't know them. There's a building on the block, like down, I don't know, probably most of the people there. I think we need to be knowing who our neighbors are and exchanging phone numbers. I think a block party is a really good idea right now. I think it is a good time to think about like a neighborhood watch, to figure out if there's anyone on your block who needs help. My neighbor across the street, he was elderly, he was living by himself, and I sadly he passed away a couple of weeks ago, but bring him to the grocery store, or I would bring groceries to him or take him to the doctor. Like, you may have people right in your neighborhood who could use a little bit of help, and you just don't, you don't know. So those are things that we could all be doing right now, just trying to have those conversations and, like meet each other and exchange those phone numbers. So if something happens, we have people to call, we have people to talk to. They're not going to cancel the midterms. Please don't even worry about that. They're not going to cancel the midterms. They're going to try to mess with them, but they're not going to cancel them. They're going to continue to try to redraw maps. They're going to probably make it really hard to vote in person. There will be places where, people have to drive miles and then stand online for hours. They'll do every single thing they can think of to make it really hard. They will, they've changed the timestamp at the USPS, right? So if you mail in your ballot, the day you mail it may not be the date that it's stamped, and the date that it's stamped matters. Your vote may not be counted if you're too close to so there's all kinds of ways they're trying to make things harder, make them more complicated, make it so your vote doesn't count. There's all these different things that they will try to do that we're going to have to be cognizant of and work against. But they're not going to cancel the midterms. So, and then, I have no doubt if they don't get the results they want, they'll try to claim fraud, or they'll want endless recounts or whatever it is. It's not going to be pretty. We're going to have to fight. But we need to be organizing in every different way, because this is not sustainable. And we're not healthy right now. We're not a healthy country. This is not a healthy democracy. What just happened at Davos, he goes and has this insane speech that he gives to world leaders for the first time in like 80 years, all these alliances that we've had. He's standing there and saying, like, NATO countries are not grateful enough. And, we've given them so much. And if we were attacked, he doesn't even think they'd be there for us. Well, they've already been there for us. 9/11, 20-year war in Afghanistan. Again, like, I don't know. Do people know this, right? And NATO countries are ungrateful. People died. They went and fought a war with us and died. And you have people like Mark Carney, Canada, right? Canadian Prime. And he was talking about this rupture now with the United States and other NATO countries, and how things have changed because of this president and the way that he speaks. And, of course, Greenland, he's talking about, taking over Greenland militarily if necessary. And then he walked that back. And a lot of people, oh, good, he walked it back. He didn't mean it. And, oh, he took it back about the tariffs. This is, you can only do this stuff so many times before people decide we're done. We're done with this. He's done this so many times. Europe world leaders are looking at us like we're insane and embarrassing, because we elected him again. He's an embarrassment. He embarrasses us on the world stage. I don't know. I don't know. It's painful for someone like me who loves this country to watch what is happening and see so many people who are just, still with it. And, I have a friend of mine, I was writing about this a few months ago, and he's somebody I was friends with for 20 years, and he's in support of this administration, and he's also a yoga teacher. And he sent me a text a few weeks ago, and, his whole thing, straight white man, no skin in the game. And it's always the straight white male yoga teachers telling you to practice non-attachment because they have no skin in the game and no rights on the line. It's very easy to practice non-attachment when you have nothing to lose, nothing to worry about. Really easy to be like, oh, it's try to just stay, focus on the good things, breathe, stay calm, like, just focus on what's good in your life. Don't lose sight of like your good health and your, I know there's some really, bad things happening in the world and everything, but don't lose sight of like your life, and, don't let it get too out of whack here. Women are always on the front lines of this stuff. They're always on the front lines with protests. Take a look around. See who's speaking up first against this administration. See who's on the streets first getting shot and killed. See who's trying to protect their neighbors and organize and make sure people have food And, their kids have the homework they need because they can't go to school. It's always women getting out there in front. It's always the people whose rights are on the line. It's always marginalized people. Always. People of color. Your queer friends. Women. Always on the front lines. Because we've had to fight. We've had to fight for our rights here. And our rights are the first ones to go. If my daughter and son and I get in a car and take a road trip, my daughter's rights to health care change every time we cross state lines, and my sons don't. My rights to health care change every time we cross state lines, and my sons don't. And these yoga teachers, these male yoga teachers, be quiet, sit down, okay? I've been teaching yoga for 35 years. Just don't talk to me. Just don't text me like that. And don't talk to me about non-attachment. Wait until your rights are on the line and then get back to me about that. And also, by the way, how about care about your neighbors? How about care about things that don't impact you directly? I have pretty much zero tolerance for that now. It is so self-absorbed. It's so self-absorbed and ignorant. But it gives people a real nice out. Oh, good. Oh, this person's talking about non-attachment, so I can just follow them and not have to really focus on all this uncomfortable stuff. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to think about it. I just want to do my yoga and have my kombucha. I don't want to I just want to chill out, I just want to feel good. I don't want to think about all this. This is so uncomfortable. Well, good job, fellas. Way to go. Giving people, an easy out to not think about the painful, hard things that maybe aren't impacting them yet, because it will. And that is not being a self-actualized person. That's not being a real open, connected person in this world. That's not enlightened behavior. That's selfish behavior. And it's going to bite you in the ass anyway, because this is not just going to impact. I mean, it's already impacting U.S. citizens. So for people who thought it wasn't going to, welcome to the nightmare. It's only going to get worse. So it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And people realize that we need to work together, and we need to decide that we care about each other more than these people who do not care about us. This administration, you could get them all in a room and they do not care. There is not a single one of those people who care about any of us. They do not care. They don't care if you voted for them. It doesn't matter. I mean, the president is such a narcissist that he likes people who voted for him and he hates people who didn't. And so apparently someone told him that Renee Nicole Good's dad was a fan of his. And then he started talking about how, this poor young woman was shot and what a tragedy it is, and how bad he feels because he heard her dad was a big fan of his, and he hopes that her dad is still a big fan of his. It's a terrible thing that happened, and sometimes ICE makes mistakes. That's what he said now. So his whole tune changed. Wasn't calling her a domestic terrorist anymore. He was saying she was a tragedy, calling her a young woman. ICE makes mistakes. So that's who you're dealing with. A guy who will take Mr. Anti-DEI right? Mr., oh, people are, they're being hired and they shouldn't be because they haven't earned their place. And then he'll take someone else's peace prize, Nobel Peace Prize, you know. It's just like it would be funny if it weren't so terribly dangerous and tragic. So, where I'm at is we need to be getting to this place where we are seeing things clearly, calling things what they are, and deciding that we care about each other more than any political party, any man who really honestly would step on you in 2 seconds to get where he's going faster. Could not care less. We just need to decide that we care about each other more than that, and that we're going to stop. Like, just stop. You know, I will not argue with anyone. You saw what happened January 6th. If you voted for this man again anyway, you really should think about what is going on with you. And if you saw the videos of Jonathan Ross murdering Renee Nicole Good and you're trying to say it's something else, you should really stop and think about what's going on with you. If you saw the pictures of little Liam Ramos and you're trying to justify this or blame the parent, you should stop and think about what's going on with you. It's not pretty and it's not okay. And we have to like, I don't know, we got to like decide we're going to work together and rise above and save our country, or we're not going to have a country. This is not going to be a country we recognize. The people that were all like, don't tread on me, don't tell me I have to wear a mask, are suddenly like, comply or die, comply or get what you deserve, stay home and mind your own business or you're going to get shot in the head. But, don't tell me to put a mask on my face, and don't tell those guys to take the masks off their face. Like, just stop, please. Anyway. I don't know. I really, I don't think funding this makes any kind of sense. And, I do think we need to get these people out. I do think we need to vote them out. And I am someone who thinks you got to work from inside the system that exists. And then, then you can try to like fix it from the inside out. But I also think it's all hands on deck, and you just do everything now. You do everything. So you organize locally, it's like all the things. It's like have the block party, get the phone numbers, see if anybody in your neighborhood needs like anything. Get your neighborhood watches going. Like, try to start talking to people and get ready for the midterms. Vote these people out, make your voices heard, call your representatives, even if you feel like it doesn't make a difference, do it anyway. Let them know that you're watching and you're not okay with what just happened. Call your senators, tell them, do not, personally, maybe there is a slush fund. There probably is, just like there was during the shutdown. He was getting his, billionaire friends to pay for this and pay for that. I'm sure he'll do it again. But could we have some kind of leadership, some kind of opposition to what's happening? I don't want my tax dollars to fund my government waging a war against me. Radical left scum. Thanks. I work really hard. I pay my taxes. I don't want my hard-earned money used to pay men to come here and terrorize my neighbors and me. Why would I want that? So, yeah, I'm not really in favor of funding this. Anyway, that's where I'm at, friends. You know where to find me. And I am sending you a lot of love. Don't lose hope. We do have power. I linked to not just like the block party idea, but also corporations that you can boycott. Obviously, I think we all know Amazon, Target, Home Depot, Hilton. But there's a link there where you can search any corporation. You can see any politician, like who's taking money, who's collaborating, like what's going on, and you can start to, you're never going to like fully divest yourself from all of these different billionaires. You're just not. It's the way, unfortunately, our system is set up. You're probably not, unless you go completely off grid, you're probably not going to be able to totally, but you can certainly cut back a lot. You don't have to be shopping with Amazon. You don't have to be shopping at Target. You don't have to be going to Home Depot. You don't have to be staying at Hilton hotels. You can start to exercise your power, since money, capitalism, like, it's so powerful in this country. You can start to exercise that power. General strikes are good. There are different ways that we can be working together, and we need to start doing a lot more of that, because no one's coming to save us. We have to save us. We have to do it. And we've never had to do this before. So a lot of us are like, how do we do this? This is how. You got to know your neighbors in order to, that's, that's a big part of it. So, yeah. Anyway, you know where to find me, and I'm sending you a lot of love. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Liam is with his dad. They are in Texas. I am hopeful that they are together. I am hopeful he's spoken to his mom. I am hopeful about a lot of things. But I'm also really done with an administration that would just, and for the people who say, oh, Obama did not do this. Okay. Don't you think we'd all remember, Obama did deport a lot of people, and there's no reason that we can't say that out loud. He did. But he did it legally with due process. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying that was pretty or perfect, but it was nothing like what we are dealing with right now. There are people on the ground in Minneapolis who have never seen anything like this, because we've never seen anything like this. And this is where all of these agents are. They're in all the states that have governors that this president hates. California, Maine, Minneapolis. This is not a well person. He's talking about Canada being the 51st state, and it's just whatever. We don't need to start over again, but it's really time to work together. Okay. I love you, and you know where to find me if you need me.